It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week we're covering all the announcements from Cinemacon, from DC, Sony, Marvel, and I think more, but at least those big three.
Yeah, Cinemacon, the con that nobody ever remembers until it's here.
Yeah, I actually did not realize it until all the news was coming out. I'm like, what happened? What sneak peeks did we not get invited to this time? But Cinemacon. Fantastic Four loses its director, and we'll talk about what this means coming up in a bit. Ghostbusters is coming back to life. Get it? Because
again,
ghosts. Yes. but there's reasons for this, more than just one thing, and we'll talk about it later, and more.
Reasons for the season. We are recording on May 1st, which yes. I don't know when exactly spring starts and summer starts, but it's starting to feel summery. You mentioned that you were getting some lawn furniture so you can enjoy your backyard a little bit more. I got some sun yesterday from being in a closed Kmart parking lot where my wife was throwing an event for her local Buy Nothing group. There was no shade in that parking lot, but beggars can't be choosers. So if you need an open parking lot without permission, you look for a closed down Kmart. And I feel like there's plenty of those across the country. So my little advice for you if you ever need a lot of pavement. So I got some sun. I've been using some After Sun aloe myself. But yeah, the beginning of May always makes me like a little nostalgic, right? Because usually May was the month that you were only ever partially in school, right? Whether it was elementary school or college. Maybe like finals are around this time for you. Maybe you're done. Maybe you don't have any finals. You're packing up. You're getting ready to go home. The summer is starting, right? I think Doctor Strange is maybe a really good first bookend to start the season.
It's a good litmus test to say, is this summer? Is there a big movie coming out? Yes, there is.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. I think, to me, again, summer doesn't technically officially start till June 22nd, and that's fine. But I feel like this is, to me, I like this weather, this spring-summer mix a lot better, right? Like, it's warm out, the sun's out, but like there's a wind blowing through. It's like I showed you earlier this week, I fired up the grill, right? You want to be outside a little bit more. Rather than hanging out. But I also know, again, my wife's teacher, prom is coming up this week. That signifies the end of school. So maybe you've got kids going to prom or whatever.
Oh man, prom is such a good location / event for movies and TV shows. Sometimes you look forward to those Christmas episodes. There's usually prom episodes. Yeah. And also, like, in general, since a lot of like TV traditionally was based around almost like the calendar school schedule, right? Yep. There's lots of season finales of TV shows that like end on a prom.
Exactly. Or like, honestly, to me, it reminds more of like the filler episodes, right? Like what are these kids up to in between stuff?
I think like the first like 4 seasons of Smallville all have like prom episodes towards like the very end.
Good, because then that means they only did 4 years in high school, and that's all you should be doing. Any more than that, you're done.
But I will say, Chris, weather is very dependent on location. Yes. So I will use this as a way to shout out Superfan Jim, who filled in for me last week. He did a great job because I was in the mountains. We have some family out in Denver, so we flew to Denver and then drove a couple hours into the mountains where plenty of snow still. There's moose up there. There's high altitude sickness, which I was battling. Like, props to anybody that lives in high altitude. It is no joke. Like, I was like drinking water like my life depended on it, because it did depend on it. You dehydrate so quickly up there, but you're there visiting family. So it's like every fun little drink you have to drink 4 glasses of water so you don't pass out. So it was rough, but I had a really good time. But yeah, I'm getting like weather whiplash. I was in the mountains, covered in snow.
I was saying you got snow, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like 85 where I am. What's going on here?
Yeah, and then we would drive back down to Denver where it was like windy that weekend, and then back to LA where it's like sunny and 70s again. So yeah, I've been through a little bit of a whiplash there, but I'm back to be at just a casual 500 feet above sea level here in the San Fernando Valley. So I think this is where I'm meant to be. I'm not meant to be that high up off the ground. It's crazy. You know, when you're on a flight and you're allowed to put your tray table down, that's around 10,000 feet. I was at like sleeping in a Murphy bed at like 9,000 feet. So like,
wow,
that's too high up. Humans weren't meant to be that high, Chris.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as we know from Colorado and their legalization, they love being high in Colorado.
Yes, that is the case. But I guess you could say I retreated into the mountains while Elon Musk tried to buy Twitter. But I'm glad I'm back just in time because we have a ton of news to talk about.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
I was going to say we have like 3 pages, and we rarely have 3 pages of notes.
Yeah. So I'll cut to the chase. I wanted to finish this up before we recorded the episode this week because I did not want to drag it out another week for myself. I finally finished the Resident Evil franchise saga, the Mia Jovovich, Paul W.S. Anderson saga. Wow,
it's a
that
family
last movie,
affair.
That last movie was a big ass letdown. That's for sure. The last movie takes this weird pivot where it just becomes a generic action movie where at least all of the other movies had bad unexpected surprises. Like I was always compelled to watch the next movie in the franchise. I was like, what dumb thing are they going to do next? Like what's the gimmick that's going to propel them 90 minutes to 2 hours in the next film? And this last one, weirdly enough, I would give them props for maybe they found a new special effects director, a new special effects house, but the special effects looked really good in the last film. I can kind of see how they pivoted to that really bad Monster Hunter adaptation, right?
Yeah.
It looks very similar, kind of has the brown Call of Duty Modern Warfare
the same
filter
creatures looking at some points as well.
Yeah, exactly. So the creature effects were cool too, but man, the plot was just generic. The way they kind of like shoehorned in moments from the first film, like going back to the hive, all felt very soulless because they've gone to like 1,000 hives in this movie franchise. Like every movie franchise has an underground. Every movie has like an underground base in it, and then they brought back. You called him Sir Friendzone from Game of Thrones.
Ian Glenn, I believe.
Yeah, it's so funny because I believe as this franchise was going on through the years, he was cast. And then they killed him off in like the 3rd movie. But then I think he just got more famous as Game of Thrones kept going on. So they're like, how can we bring him back? So there's just arbitrary clones. Like
they love cloning in this. How can we get the most out of one actor?
But I don't know if you remember this, Chris, but in the last movie, he's like weirdly also robotic. Like a grenade blows up in his jacket, but like this contact lens in his eyes has UI that says like rebooting, and it's like, what, you see a robot? They never show any mechanical parts. So
I think that's a throwback to, I believe, Resident Evil 2 or 3 when they're like, we're controlling Alice remotely even though she's not robotic kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe. But
like the whole movie is a throwback. Like even with Ali Larder returning, the Red Queen making a bigger, coming back as a I guess a character, and also the actress who played the Red Queen is Paul Anderson and Mila Jovovich's daughter, who actually plays the young Black Widow in the Black Widow movie this year. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did not know that. But
yeah, bring it back to superheroes. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, but the one thing you'll take away from this franchise watching it is they have literally no idea what they're gonna do when they finish a movie. Like they'll kind of set it up with kind of like a pseudo cliffhanger of maybe where they might want to go, and then somewhere in between that year and a half of like development, they just come up with some random wild ass idea and they try to make it fit. That is just exactly what happens. Like Mila Jovovich, she will have powers and they'll be taken away. She'll have them, they'll be taken away. She'll get the T-virus back, but then she won't get powers, but she'll still have the T-virus, but then it'll be taken away. You cannot keep track of what the hell is happening. And like, go ahead.
I was gonna say I rewatched this movie with for Mike because it's been so long. Like this is the one I watched the least because I'm like, it's been such a short amount of time between its release and now. So I rewatched it and I'm like, I remember the last one ends. They're all at the White House, and they're all going to have this big battle, and they're all on the same team, right? Because the zombies have gotten too bad. Then it literally just was like, hey, there could have been a whole movie about this battle, but we're going to skip it and just start with the battle already being done with this movie. Like, guess what? You don't get to see the White House battle. You just get to see the remnants, and
she emerges from rubble. The worst thing that this movie franchise did, honestly, Chris, at this point in time, I feel it feels weird nitpicking these series of movies because no one needs to watch it. Nobody's precious about these films. No. I don't know what Paul W.S. Anderson's career is going to be moving forward, but nobody's thinking about these movies anymore. But the worst thing that this franchise did was do the apocalyptic turn, right? As soon as the entire planet died off, they even say like they killed 7 billion people. The stakes are basically pointless. Like, why does Alice want to save or stop the Umbrella Corporation? There's no one left to save. Like, there's no like... There's some little semblances of like humanity trying to cling on, but it's like literally almost nothing. And then not only did they kill off of humanity, but they did like a scorched earth story too, where like the whole planet was destroyed, turned to dust, and even like plants are dead, so they could like film in the desert for one movie and save some cash. So it's like, what is the point? Like, what is driving? There's nothing left to save. Just lay down and die, or like, I don't know, go in the mountains and live peacefully. Umbrella, like, so that is the worst flaw that they made with the story. But if you really wanted to dive into the Resident Evil franchise, right, watch the first one because it's a classic. It's still good.
It's a true horror movie. Like the rest are not.
Exactly. And then if you just want a hint at where the whole franchise is going, watch the second one because you can kind of see some of the ridiculousness they do, the huge pivot they do to the franchise, and then stop there. If you have the ability to watch these at like 2x or 3x speed, that might be kind of fun to speed run it. But I'm glad I'm done. Yeah. But as we discussed last time, I think what might be up next for me after finishing Underworld and Resident Evil might possibly be the Twilight franchise.
I say do Transformers. I say go back to Transformers. You got like 6 of those.
Maybe we'll see. I don't know if my eyes can focus on all that twisting and transforming metal.
But the best part of Transformers is it ends with the last one was Bumblebee, which was actually a good one. So
that is true.
It actually it's like Fast and Furious. It's making a swing back towards popularity.
So weirdly enough, if you don't listen to this podcast to catch up with this weekly news, you must return next week to see what ridiculous franchise I'm starting to watch again. So I
never watched the Netflix Resident Evil, and I feel you mentioned that. So I'm like, I need to probably check that out.
Actually, yeah. If I wanted to be a completionist, I should dive into that like that. Didn't they do like another Raccoon City style movie?
It's just Welcome to Raccoon City. It's like a or not a prequel, but like an origin of everything.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
It's got the guy who plays number 1 Space Boy in Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, like that's right. Yeah. I'll have to see if that's streaming in any. I think
Netflix
sense of the word.
Produced it, so I think it's like gonna be perma Netflix. But
$6 on Apple TV. Something tells me this movie's not worth $6.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll check that out. I might give that a go this week. I mean, because really, I'll talk about what I've been doing here just real fast. Because it's a video game that I've thoroughly enjoyed. But this week is Doctor Strange week, and the season finale of Moon Knight all at the same go, and I'm like, really, I'm just counting the sleeps, man. Like, that's really I'm just trying to get from one sleep to the next. But are you familiar with the Borderlands franchise from a video game standpoint?
I am. Familiar is the best definition. I've never played any of them, but I'm familiar.
It's a looter shooter, if you will. So you have there's lots and lots of randomly generated guns. You get you go on quests. You get like a Skyrim or an RPG. You level up your character, but it's all about guns and shooting and like occasional abilities that you use, right? But it's all about finding the next better gun with the most abilities. But the thing about Borderlands is it's known for its cell shaded look, right? It's got a very distinct style if you look at it. And then the humor, it very much leans into a very humorous story. The characters are, they're hilarious characters. They try to, kind of push that boundary a little bit. And one of the characters I believe they introduced, maybe in the first one or the second one, is a character called Tiny Tina. And she's just like a young girl in this post-apocalyptic, planetary space, journey. And she has become a fan favorite character because she always wants to blow stuff up, and she's got a very, very voice that goes from like little girlish to like very like deep explosion kind of thing. So they gave her a game. This is the next Borderlands game called Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and in this whole game, it's the Borderlands, loot 'em, shoot 'em, but the whole premise is Tiny Tina is guiding you on they call Bunkers and Badasses, which is their version of Dungeons and Dragons in this. So she's the DM. And like you are playing, and you can see like the characters in the sky above you, right? Because like you're supposed to be on the table, and like you're going through shooting stuff. There's a Queen Butt Stallion who's like a diamond unicorn, and that's like the name of the character in the game. Like they lean into this pretty good, and I would say this is probably my most favorite of the Borderlands right now because it doesn't take itself seriously, right? You're not hopping from planet to planet to save the world. You're like, oh, Will Arnett is voicing the villain of the Dragon King, right? Who is the villain? It's very fun, very humorous. If you like shooters, like you're fighting goblins, you're fighting like little wyverns and like very mythical creatures. They've adapted to this, and this game, I wouldn't say it's short. It's got some in-game stuff and some DLC, but it was made entirely in like during COVID-19, like quarantine. So it's like more of a passion project for the creators. And I think that's what really is selling this. And one of the best parts about it supports full cross-play. So on Xbox, I can play PlayStation and PC people. So very much a four-player adventure through this. And if you play cooperative, you actually get your own loot. So you don't have to worry about fighting other people for it along the way.
Yeah,
very fun.
I'm looking at some screenshots. It's kind of funny. Like the game board is this fantasy world, but there'll be like a Cheeto or like a soda can that gets in your way because you're kind of tiny. That's funny.
Yeah, and one of the Wanda Sykes is one of the characters. Like there's like two other board game characters with you, like, and she voices the other ones. And just the voice acting, the comedians, the hilarity definitely ensues across this. And then when you get into the weapons, like when you start reading about the weapon descriptions, the people who are making the guns are probably having the most fun in this game because they're randomly kind of generated kind of stuff. When they spit out at you. I'm a class called the Clawbringer, who is essentially Thor because you can throw a hammer and it will electrocute things around you and you can bring it back to you, which is really fun. And then my secondary class is a spore, not spore warden, spore giver, something like that. So I have a little mushroom dude who follows me around and heals, and then he will also essentially fart at other characters to aggro them to himself, which is hilarious. So. Been playing that, with friend of the show Brian. We've been having a good time. We beat it on Friday night, on co-op mode. So it's been really fun. And the other thing I didn't write down, I didn't realize this. We didn't talk about it 2 weeks ago. Aqua Teen Hunger Force. They're minis called Aquadonk side pieces, which are like 3-minute YouTube clips focused on the villains, like from the show's history, are now on YouTube, all 10 of them. So if you're a fan of Aqua Teen or just remember any of the characters, those are fun little bite-sized pieces to go down that road if anyone wants to before the movie comes back, probably later this year if I was a betting man. So anyway, Mike, you want to jump into these news? You've not been on the show for 2 weeks, and boy, do we have the news this week.
I'm ready to go. I got opinions.
Okay, opinions. So let's start off. DC Comics at Cinemacon, right? So we have DC properties. We're going to start up here. The first biggest thing here out of all this news for DC is the Batman sequel was officially announced at this event, Mike, with Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves returning. No other details were given other than, yes, they have greenlit it. They are bringing these people back. I feel this is good news, right?
Yes.
Little delayed, but, thank God they didn't announce it the day the movie came out. What is there anything you want to see in the Batman 2?
I'm curious if they can find any creative way to break the mold of the Batman franchise, if you will, because there's things that we're all expecting, right, in the second movie. A new villain, there'll probably be new tech. Either the Batmobile will get a little bit cooler, or he'll get like a, I guess he had a Bat motorcycle already, but who knows, he could have like a Bat drone or a Bat helicopter. Yeah. We're just kind of curious what is like the next logical step for the character. So is it just going to be another like a classic sequel where you just like up the stakes every way? Are they going to go a different direction? Are they going to bring a new villain that we haven't traditionally seen? I would
love a Clayface in this world. If I'm going to be out, the more I've thought about it, I'm like, I think, we've seen the Joker exist in this world. We don't need him as the villain for the second one. But like a Clayface would be interesting.
See, that would be interesting, because Clayface means you need to introduce a bit of a fantastical element in a way. Like, I'm not saying they couldn't pull it off, but if anything, this is probably the most realistic Batman we've ever seen, like down to like what's physically able, capable, possible. Like, we see him get shot like point blank with a shotgun, and like he literally almost dies from it. Luckily he was like wearing armor from it. So like, if you're introducing a Clayface or like a Poison Ivy, like you gotta get a little fantastical with it and embrace the DC world. That is the thing, right? Batman, probably the most realistic superhero out of all of comics, whether you're talking about Marvel, DC, Image, whatever. But he lives in the most fantastical world of DC, where there's aliens, superheroes, like magic, wizards, like monsters, creatures. There's so much in there. So I'm curious if they'll ever go that route in this franchise.
Well, the other thing is with Batman, like his characters, like he is very grounded, but sometimes you have to suspend the disbelief or give them some abilities on his villains, right? Like if you stick to the grounded villains, like we're running out of those, right? Like at the end of the day, like, we could do another Two-Face, be the third Two-Face. I would also love to see maybe a Mr. Freeze. I feel he could be grounded really well if, followed properly, not, the campy Arnold Schwarzenegger version. I think that kind of scientist would fit into this world a little bit. But, I think to me, Clayface maybe isn't a person who's like a bottle of clay, a bag of clay. Maybe he's more like the Penguin, right? It's more like he has the ability to become whoever, and like we spend the movie not knowing who is Clayface and who isn't sometimes, because he's a master of disguise, and like Batman has to become the greatest detective and figure out who the real, who Clayface is and who he was the entire time through his journey. Would be, to me, very interesting at the end of the day. But there's opportunity here. They don't have to pick up where the other one left off. They could jump forward a little bit. But like we talked about in our review, the other thing I would like to see is the Bruce Wayne personality appear to combat the duality of his roles. Like he doesn't want to be Bruce Wayne, the public figure, but he has to, because otherwise they're gonna figure out he's Batman pretty quick, if he's always doing the same stuff Batman is. So that's announced. If anyone has any hopes or dreams, wishes for the Batman, do let us know. One of my coworkers watched it last weekend, Mike, on Saturday. He's like, I'm gonna talk to you about it when I see you again, okay? So I talked to him, and he's like, it's long, but I had to watch it immediately again on Sunday. I'm like, well, that means you probably enjoyed it a little bit. So we've talked a little about it, and he enjoyed it. So that's good. On HBO Max right now for everybody. Black Adam, we got a little bit of we didn't get to see any of this footage, I'm going to be honest. There's some footage here, but some descriptions, and I just included, I didn't want to pick anything that could be potentially taken as spoilery, so I just pulled out some bits and pieces here for these footage pieces. But Black Adam, apparently he's like fighting the military, like helicopters, but he's catching missiles and like walking away from explosions. And
classic.
And immediately I thought of that Hulk, the Incredible Hulk scene, right, at the when he's at the school and he's like catching the missiles from like the helicopters and like fighting them, like throwing cars at them. So like I imagine they were going to make him on that strength level similar to the Hulk a little bit, with what this sounds like. Dr. Fate, played by Pierce Brosnan, opens a mirror portal, and it says it looks a lot like maybe Doctor Strange stuff, but Dr. Fate is the DC equivalent of Doctor Strange. So that's not really surprising there. I'd like to see what that looks like. And they're apparently past and present day scenes showing his history when from the last show when he was like a slave, and like the ancient version of Black Adam and how he is today with the powers of, I guess, Shazam or whatever is fueling him. So it looks like we're going to be getting some back and forth on this film. I'm very excited about this. I know very little about Black Adam overall, and I feel like this is, with The Rock's enthusiasm and some of the other characters, I'm kind of excited about this, Mike.
I'm curious, what are the odds that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will play a character that is remotely different from just his own personality? And I don't think Black Adam is where it's going to start, right? Like, if anything, Black Adam is probably closer to maybe his professional wrestling days, where he kind of gets to be like the baddie, but like with the redeemable qualities. So, what do you do with the biggest movie star in a comic book movie? We will find out.
And this one's been in production, quote unquote production, for about 13 years now. I think they first announced him in 2009 with The Rock announced. So like they've gone through like quite the renaissance, the rise and fall of some studios, right? Like and how superhero films, like 2009 was the year of X-Men Origins Wolverine when they announced this. So like hopefully they're not just using that script from back then and sticking with it. So knock on wood, we get to see some Black Adam trailer, because that is still the only film dropping this year, I believe. Live action from DC. No, Shazam moved up to December, so yes, we'll talk about that. Shazam, Fury of the Gods, right here actually, and this is gonna pop up twice here, and we'll talk about it. But there's a dream sequence involving Wonder Woman, Mike, that they talked about. So
I wonder which Wonder Woman it is supposed to be, right?
Yes,
because they've obviously shown that they can bring superheroes into this movie without identifying the actor. Even if you look over at Peacemaker, there are ways that you can obscure the identity but have the iconic costumes. And in a dream sequence, that would be even easier to do. You know, you have the soft edges, you have silhouettes of characters. So I'm curious if that's going to be Gal Gadot.
Yeah, exactly. Or are they going to do like... Well, remember how they did Wonder Woman or Superman at the end of the first? Like, we're not even going to bring the actor in. We're just going to pretend the actor's here. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't even know, but like Shazam, I wouldn't be surprised if they do something goofy with it. So
yeah, I would think it's not clear yet, because I feel like the news would be Gal Gadot in Fury of the Gods if we knew for a certain it was Gal Gadot.
Well, exactly, and honestly, you know, it could be, you know, maybe she is in there. I again, what I read from the descriptions, I tried to just keep everything like the most basic ones, so I didn't ruin anything for us. So we'll see which Wonder Woman's in there, like you said. He's also fighting the Daughters of Atlas, so it's played by Helen Mirren, Lucy Liu, and I forget who the third one was. It's another younger actress. So that seems to be the villains of the film, rather than the talking worm from the end of the last one. And then apparently the whole idea is that there's weakening barriers between the mundane world and the magical world in this. So they've not really explored magic as much, like the world of magic, just in Shazam, just the Billy Batson character. So I'm interested for them to open up DC a little bit more with the magical. Mm-hmm. We've got Dr. Fate coming up in Black Adam. We've got, Black Adam himself, Shazam, possibly a Zatanna film, right? We're in the works down the road. Like, magic seems to be maybe where they're leaning into a little bit in DC, following, I would say, the success of Marvel's use of magic with the Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange, right? So,
well, fantastical magical abilities may be the only tool in their tool set.
Yeah.
To possibly redo this franchise and correct things and try to get things. I know that they're still trying to get their leadership in order over at the studio.
Yeah.
And anything that they might dream up on their very first day, you're not going to see on screen for probably like 3 to 4 years. So we'll see if any of this kind of world building sticks around long term,
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, again, I think Shazam is, a strong enough alone to be there by itself, right? I think Aquaman's pretty strong. Flash is on edge. Wonder Woman definitely needs a lift, right? After 84, so not too worried. The other thing is the date was pushed back to avoid Avatar. The Avatar, The Way of Water, the sequel. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So it moved back like 5 days to like December 21st or something like that. So really not a lot. But like we've always said, as little as we don't enjoy Avatar, do not underestimate James Cameron at the box office, right? So Shazam is, even though as fun as it is, I would not recommend putting it up there. Moving on, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I think I probably know the least about this. The most I know is that Amber Heard is at trial with Johnny Depp still, and she plays Mara in this. So that's about all I know. But apparently they showed some footage with Arthur, Aquaman, and Orm, who's Ocean Master, teaming up in this film. And I think maybe we saw some earlier photos of them like on the beach, right? I think the director shared a couple months ago. Kind of teasing a team up rather than them fighting like they did in the first one. Black Manta is wielding an ancient power of some sort. Did he get any? I couldn't remember at the end of that movie. Did he find something ancient tech related, or did he just go to the guy who played
there was like,
Jimmy Woo?
There was like that post credit scene, right? I think he was just like tinkering with some Atlantean technology. I think that's the last
Okay.
remember.
So we'll probably figure out what that is, and then this was probably the coolest part. It sounds like that he will be in an octopus-like mech suit underwater when he's fighting stuff.
Oh yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah. I to me, some of the best Aquaman stuff was that big battle at the end, right? Like where they have all the different sea creatures fighting each other at the it's like the battle of the 5 armies, Lord of the Rings style, but underwater. So I'd be interested to see kind of what they do with this. And James Wan, just going at it. I mean, it feels like he's kind of got free reign to do whatever he wants in Aquaman, right? Like, doesn't really affect the DC world at large. So, yeah. Anything else you want to add to Aquaman before we?
I think honestly, the big question mark is everything that's not related to the production. It's the Amber Heard question.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because that is it is rough going. My guess is the most likely turnout, the most likely situation is she's just not brought back for a third movie, right? More drastic, like there would be post-production things that happened, right? So maybe they do like a pickup day where like they kill her off or something.
Well,
like
I was
that.
gonna say the rumor is that the script had it like they didn't fire her because the script had it where she was killed to kind of force the story along a little bit. Like Arthur, the only way he can avenge her is by teaming up with. His half-brother.
Best case scenario, she's dead in the first act, and we can all move along.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, she comes back. But I think they could recast Mara. They've recast before over there. So
yeah, I mean they did it with Don Cheadle. So
yep, and several other characters along the way. The Hulk, literally, the Hulk was recast, and that's the lead actor of the franchise. So. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, nothing. I mean, I'm excited about this movie. Like I said, it is, I believe, spring of next year, so we're under a year away. Again, Jason Momoa, very, very great lead character, right? Very infectious. He loves what he's doing as Aquaman, and you can feel it when he's playing it. So cool. The Flash, the only man who wants to fight all of Hawaii in one go, Ezra Miller. But we're not here to talk about Ezra Miller. The footage shows Michael Keaton's Batman has multiple bat suits, Mike, just like all the toys we had when we were younger.
Yeah.
Different kinds, different versions. He is the Iron Man of the DC universe, and finally we get to see him with a bunch of the suits.
Ice climbing Batman, scuba Batman, space Batman.
Exactly, a magic missile firing Batman. Whatever you want to do it. So I don't know what his suits are, but they did say he has multiple bat suits. He will be de-aged at the beginning, but have like long white hair and like a beard. Like he's like just more of a recluse at this point when we find him, rather than the clean cut version we saw set photos of later on. So that's interesting. Supergirl's parents are in this as well, so we don't have to worry about figuring out if they're going to be in here because they're confirmed to be in here, Mike. And we've talked about it before, but do you want to know who they are, or do you want to wait until the trailer comes out?
I'll wait until the trailer comes out. I don't know much about the lineage of Supergirl besides she's Clark Kent's cousin. So
it's not in this one. So I'll tell you that right now. So it's another Universal, but that's fine. Yeah, that's great. I believe we've covered it before. If anyone wants to know, you can probably just do a quick Google search. But we'll wait for the trailer. I think the Flash is despite literally all the troubles with the actor, not the production. Well, even the production. I went through like 8 directors. I want to watch this movie the most. I'm so excited to see all the different, to bring back Michael Keaton's Batman, to see how they erase the universe and set stuff forward. But since it's been pushed back with the new Warner, leadership, this is an opportunity for them to kind of preliminary set some things in motion, right? For that. So I think you're right by saying that earlier. And then also they did confirm that Ben Affleck's Batfleck is in the movie. Not for how long, but they did show footage of him in the movie as well. Like I believe on his motorcycle even. So they're just going all out with multiple versions of every character in this film. And I don't think this is not a knock on it. I don't think it's in response to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but I am seeing similarities. But all comic book characters have a counterpart on the other side as well. So yeah, very excited, Mike. Anything else on the Flash? I mean, can you imagine the toys when this comes out?
I'm just still, much like I've always been, ever since we heard this movie was coming out. Still waiting.
Yeah, still waiting. Cautiously optimistic along the way. Very, very excited myself. All right, moving there. That's DC's notes. That's the big takeaways from this. But we're going to talk about a Disney movie. Now Disney, previously Fox, coming out later this year that we've heard literally nothing on hardly at all. And that is the first Avatar sequel, Avatar: The Way of Water. Now, mind you, this is not Avatar: The Last Airbender, despite how the title sounds. Because you could easily get that confused with Avatar, right? Because there's waterbenders. But the first stills were revealed, and these were taken down off an official post. I was able to find a backup, very unknown account here. It's in Spanish. And it shows off, Jake Sully in his, Na'vi form, riding the back of one of those creatures. A lot of avatars, maybe riding maybe fish creatures, it looks like. And I believe that one on the front left kind of looks... maybe pregnant. I don't know. They're gonna talk about.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what a pregnant Na'vi looks like, but
yeah,
she's either pregnant or she just ate.
Yeah, exactly. It's water weight, because they're in the ocean. And then there's another what I assume is Jake Sully underwater with a big, Pandora whale. And the last one, I don't know if this is the character we've known before, but it's just showing the Na'vi, the details of the characters. The effects don't look like they've really come that far since the original movie in still frame mode. I would love to see them in action, and we will get to see them in action this week, but these stills are a good sampling of what's to come, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell because I think it kind of goes into the second bullet point you have here where the original film is going to be remastered for theaters, yes. And it's so weird to think of that movie getting remastered, right? Mm-hmm. That was supposed to be the pinnacle of movie technology when it came out, but it came out a while ago. There probably maybe is a little bit of room. Yeah. There's a little room in there to be mastered. And I don't think there's a wide availability of the film in 4K. I think there's some abstract kind of released window avenues that had 4K, but you can't just readily go out to Best Buy and pick it up in 4K if you wanted to.
I believe the last pressing was the Blu-ray 3D in 2012. If I remember, I looked this up right. So they've not really come back and re-released it. So this upscaling is going to be interesting. If they released it in 2009, so they spent a lot of the technology in 2007, 2008 making this movie, right? Doing the CG. So across 13 years, I'd love to see what they've done with this.
I think my two biggest observations is one. I'm curious to see, are we looking at surfaced water, right? Because we see them floating on the water, or are there Na'vi that have gills, right, that are breathing underwater? If so, I'm curious what James Cameron's take is of an underwater world, because we know he's a bit of a scuba man himself, a diver. I want to say spelunking, but that's for caves, so whatever the equivalent is for deep ocean diving. Because if you remember back to our review of Aquaman, I kind of am not a big fan of underwater worlds. They're kind of murky, they're not super exciting, everything moves a little bit slower because everything's flowy. So the way that underwater worlds have been adapted so far on cinema just aren't super exciting to me. So I'm curious, maybe James Cameron has a different take on it.
Does not look like it from these stills, but hopefully we can be proven wrong. And
number two, maybe Na'vi have submarines made of wicker baskets or something like that. I don't know. But number two is that I believe this footage was screened with 3D glasses. So James Cameron, is he going to reinvigorate 3D for another time, right? Yeah. We often talk about when we go buy our movie tickets that there's 80% of the showings are in 2D now. And
if not more,
there's only a couple 3D screenings. So is this the movie that brings people back to spending more money on movie tickets so they can see it in 3D? All I can say is right now is it seems like a waste to not see the movie in 3D, right? This is probably the first 3D movie I voluntarily see since Gravity, which came out a long time ago. So maybe the box office will reward James Cameron with this third dimension yet again.
Yeah, I would love to possibly think so, but as someone who has a visual impairment, 3D doesn't really reach to me. But I maybe I'll see it multiple times. I did not see the first one multiple times in theater, but if I can see it in a non-3D, I'm going to take that option. Despite his attempt to do it, 3D well, or however he wants to do it. But yeah, I'm down to revisit. We've talked about revisiting Avatar, right?
We will
Yes,
indeed do a spoiler cast on the first Avatar.
But here's the best part: by September of this year, we can actually go see it in theaters rather than watch it at home if we wanted to.
Nice.
Now I have been. I think I've told you offhand that I'm looking to buy 3D glasses for my projector since it supports 3D. Stuff. So if they come out, if I can find a good 3D copy and get those glasses for a decent price, I might try it at home as well to see it. But I believe I don't know. I don't know if I'm excited to watch 3D films. We've talked about this, ad hoc or whatever ad hoc. We've talked about it a lot. But like, do I want to see it in 3D? Do we want 3D to see a resurgence, Mike? I don't know. After you going through literally 2 Resident Evil movies where they just practice throwing things at the screen at you because of 3D, is that something we want to dip our toes back into at the end of the day?
Well, if anything, we know this will be an inflection point. We will see how the market reacts, as any good economist would say.
Yes. And I did a quick dive into Avatar on illegal download sites, if you will. Just to see, there are no 4K versions that I can even download. All they have are the 1080p Blu-ray rips, and I don't even see Dolby Atmos or like high-end like DTS:X versions of audio in here. Like they've not done any upgrades to these films in, like I said, 13 years. So I'd be excited to see what that mix looks like, sounds like at the end of the day. Avatar. And then also the trailers this week with Doctor Strange. That was the other big thing. If we're going to watch it, next week we will literally be talking about the trailer, Mike, about what this looks like. So, while we may have jumped the gun here to look at the stills, I think it's very interesting to know that we'll get to watch it with Doctor Strange, and they know how many butts are going to be in seats for this movie, Mike. That's a big important part. For that, anything else you want to add to Avatar?
I'm waiting for the trailer. I'm weirdly excited, which is something I wasn't expecting.
Oh yeah, exactly. And then there's also 3 more sequels after this as well, right? Like that's the crazy part. We're only moving along to like the next I guess how many 3 more along the way. So okay, well that's enough stalling because I forgot to link something here in the notes, Mike, that you need to see to actually understand this. So Guardians, we're gonna shift gears into Marvel because it's all the other Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special. James Gunn shared the wrap gift. They finished wrapping or finished filming this, so they get wrap gifts, right? For wrap filming, and they kind of go through with ornaments showing all the characters here in Christmas attire, sweaters, Christmas lights, so on and so forth. The most important thing here is there is no Gamora in this, right? Number 1. Mm-hmm. Number 2 is Cosmo, the space dog, gets his own ornament. So is this where we get to see Cosmo come back from Guardians 1 and become, a part of the series, this little spin-off on Disney Plus?
It seems like it might.
Yeah. I also saw some footage, or not footage, some screenshots earlier of Drax and Mantis filming in like Hollywood, like at the
yeah, that popped up in my TikTok feed. They were outside of the Chinese theater in Hollywood. So like, are they insinuating that the holiday special will return to Earth? They will be going to like an Earth movie theater, because if there's going to be like, the holiday special should be canon in some way. But I think if they kind of want to bend the rules a little bit, like narratively, I think we'll kind of let it go for a holiday special,
Well, I think the thing is, post Endgame, I don't think the Guardians or even the Earth is going to be adverse to alien visitors coming back. Like, Peter's not going to worry about coming back to Earth, right? He's now been on Earth because they fought the battle. Maybe we're going to see them come back a little more because of their they're fine with that. Or it just could be one of those things where it's like literally, even if it's not canonical and this is just, oh my gosh, we're going to go watch Christmas movies with Drax and Mantis because, they're like the 2 people who wouldn't understand these movies the most. Let's go do it. But I think Cosmo, again, a huge, I don't think he was overlooked. I think he's just a small cameo in the first one, right? A lot of opportunity here. And if you've not played the Guardians of the Galaxy game, he is a big part of that game that released last year.
And we do see Groot kind of back to his normal glory, at least by the holiday special.
Yes. So that makes me think, will he be that way for it? Hopefully he is, and it's not just a, just to have a different group. Because we also see Kraglin with his fin on his head, the big fin that he was putting on at the end of Guardians too. So, I'm excited to see a little bit of this footage, Mike. I think maybe we'll get some later this summer, even though, San Diego is this year, right? Yeah, so maybe they'll throw some at San Diego for us to have a little peek-see along the way. So we'll jump into, that was not actually at CinemaCon, that was pre-CinemaCon. So let's jump into some Marvel CinemaCon news. We got good, we got bad, we got ugly. They did show a picture of the film slate for the next 2 years of Marvel / Disney, and I didn't really it's just the order that we know everything's coming in. Were you able to look at that? I forgot to look at it as well.
I browsed it briefly. I didn't really see any big standouts, and then plus the last 2 years have taught me to not believe any release date I ever see anymore.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, okay, literally what's funny is I believe, if I can find the photo of this, again, literally 2 movies changed release dates since then. 4 days ago, here it is on thing. Yep, 2 of these movies, swapped release dates already. So we're actually, this isn't even correct at this part. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. But first, you didn't get to talk to me about the Thor: Love and Thunder teaser, Mike. You were out last week.
I did not.
So, first, we'll just get our news over with. We have an image of Thor in his peaceful moments, right? He looks to be kind of in a relaxation. He's got his flag banners hanging from the tree, enjoying the sunrise or the sunset in his robes. Looks to be very peaceful, But, and we can tell this is a scene from the movie. We kind of saw it. But let me know what you thought of the teaser last week.
I mean, it was fine. I thought the funniest part about it was people have been chomping at the bit, getting Thor: Love and Thunder trending on Twitter for weeks and weeks, if not months now. And this is like the teaser trailer we've had from Marvel in a long time. So you're not really getting any of the villain. You're not getting a whole lot of new characters. It's just kind of like, oh, here he is. He's still alive. He's still out there. Thor's still there. So I don't think this is really what people were expecting or waiting for. But there is a very short amount of time until until the movie drops. So I anticipate the trailer everybody really wants to see is probably just around the corner.
Yeah, well, exactly. It is, and I think how much of this after you've watched, our flag means death. Do you think that this is Taika Waititi just having fun poking at people wanting a very revealing trailer, kind of?
Yeah, I don't know.
It feels like he kind of cut it a little bit, to be honest. About
I'm curious how much Taika has control over the marketing side of things, when it comes to trailers. But everybody knows Taika now. He's a personality. Yeah. He's a knowable figure, and the movies fit kind of that personality. So I wouldn't be surprised if editing the trailer puts it in that direction. But so this movie comes out July, right?
That is correct. I actually have here pull up the Superhero Slate upcoming movie and release schedule, and it comes out July 8th. Which I was going to say, you might be lucky to watch it somewhere else, but anyway.
Yeah, I doubt. I doubt that there will be a new trailer by Doctor Strange in theaters. It seems like this will be the trailer that's in front of Doctor Strange, but. Are there any other big media moments coming up where we might see the full-fledged trailer, or will it just kind of be a casual midweek drop, kind of like how this one was?
I assume it'd probably be a midweek drop. I know they had that photo a couple of weeks ago, them doing the press tours, but they didn't do any of that information or release any of that with this first trailer, right? There was nothing there. Radio silence. It's just, here's the teaser. Good luck. So I believe there probably is a dedicated event to this that's not related to like a release. The other thing I can think of, when is Pixar coming? Not Pixar. Lightyear coming out.
It could be. I think is Lightyear June.
Yeah, I'm going through this May
later this month.
I go Downton Abbey. It's not going to come out with Downton Abbey.
June 17th is when Lightyear drops.
Yeah, so that's 2 weeks before. They had tickets on sale before that. I'm looking here.
We're desperately trying to polish this crystal ball to see when we just want that other we want to see Gore the God Butcher, right? We want to see these goats that fly around that pull the ship. So we want to see a little bit more of Jane Foster, because we did get to see that shot of Jane Foster, and she looked pretty sick in the uniform.
And I didn't talk about it, but that scene actually lines up with Captain America's reveal in Endgame when he pulls the hammer over, and that's how like his that's identical to his pose, and the hammer flying to her hands is the same way. And I was like, oh, that's a very fun homage to this.
Yeah, I know some people have been picking the trailer, apart, frame by frame, and they've noticed a couple shots where Marvel likes to paint out a character, right? Yep. You look at the composition of a scene and go, "What? There's this weird blank space over there." So they are holding some things back. So stay tuned, stay subscribed. We'll let you know when the next one's coming.
I believe, after talking last week, I believe that empty space with Thor and Korg is Meek. Because we've not seen him yet, and I've seen the Funko vinyl. Did I send you the Funkos of this one?
Technically, Meek is in that final battle in Endgame, though.
Right.
But he's not it's not super.
Right. Yeah, he is there, but in this, the Funko for this shows him in a different outfit that is funny, and humorous more than a battle. So I believe that might be it. Also, I really hope this gives people the opportunity to read Jason Aaron's Thor runs, between Thor, his God Butcher runs, and the Mighty Thor with Jane Foster runs. I think those are very great comic books to read, and those are collected from 8 years ago, so you don't have to wait week to week.
Read comic books.
Yeah.
What a concept.
Well, you weren't here, but you saw the one panel, right, where they literally took the scene out of the comic book and did it one for one.
Yeah, it was. And it wasn't even one of those things where it was just we heavily used this frame as inspirations. No, they literally drag onto canvas, lower opacity, put things exactly where they're supposed to go.
Exactly. So we talked about last week, and this is more your thing. I really hope the artist, Assad Rebic, who's actually one of my favorite Marvel artists, gets paid or more credit for that, because if they paid someone else to storyboard this film and they took the panel that he already drew one for one, I feel like he did the work. Someone else just copied and pasted it down. So
yeah, it is very strange, right? It seems like the superhero comic book industry is turning more and more into research and development. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in time they're running these comic industries at a loss or at break even, just so they can generate ideas. I don't know. So it's this is what happens when you have gigantic corporations and huge mega mergers. Things get weird like that.
Yeah, and also it's part of the comic book industry is work for hire. Anything you do at a comic book house, they own technically at the end of the day. But in this world of hey, throw them a bone a little bit. They're helping you figure out your stories. They're helping you design the look and feel, and it's a very symbiotic relationship. Better so than Venom or Venom Let There Be Carnage. Along the way. All right, moving along. This week, literally, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This is I'm so stoked for this, Mike. I'm so hyped to watch this movie. I've actually come across some accidental teaser reveals.
Yeah, I was gonna say, explain this to me in more detail, but obviously without the spoilers. You were on a YouTube playlist and saw unlisted videos, or something?
So I was watching I was just going through the trailers, right? I like to rewatch the ones we've already seen. I don't like watching TV spots, so I'm hey, I'm gonna satisfy my desire to watch TV spots by just rewatching the teaser trailer or the trailers and get it out of my system. And then the next video that played was in an unlisted playlist with videos that said Doctor Strange this week, and this was on a Wednesday, and I'm it's next week, what's going on here? So I did a little research into it, and someone else had seen it too. Saw it on some Reddit, and apparently I'd stumbled into an unlisted playlist on YouTube because the next video was literally, hey, you're in this playlist. The link that was in the ad was the playlist link rather than the actual direct video link. So literally, I was seeing TV spots that are coming out this week for the movie, which we always know the week of has the biggest spoilers, the biggest reveals to hook any last minute people.
I pulled up the latest Jurassic World trailer that came out a couple days ago, just the other day, and the pre-roll ad before it was a Doctor Strange TV spot, so I had to cover my eyes and what is this? I can't see it. So I've heard that some of these TV spots are being a little bit more revealing, which I don't want to see.
Yeah, they're being very gratuitous with some of the stuff. And now, mind you, Marvel will fake us out at any given time. Literally, any of that Thor stuff could have their background.
Yeah.
Like, remember when Ragnarok was like, we're fighting Hela in an alley in New York, and then it's like, nope, we're actually in Norway.
Yeah, but also they will definitely, to sell more tickets and get people to the box office, like in 3 weeks, right, when the whole identity of that whole council, right, is revealed, though they will be in trailers, right? Go back to Doctor Strange, the best reviewed, the highest grossing movie of all time. Go see it now. Look, here's all these people from these X-Men movies.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Black Bolt. Everyone loves Black Bolt. Hopefully, no, he's not in there. But yeah, there's I saw a lot more than I wanted to. And that's fine, though. I think, we are in an age of, spoilers are gray territory now. But I do like to not... I like watching the trailers and only watching the teaser or the TV spot. So
the biggest question mark for me right now is America Chavez, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this character that's been in every trailer now, we don't know anything about her. I saw I don't know if it was a rumor or if it was confirmed or what the deal was, but there was talks that she was going to be in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Originally, she was in the first draft of it, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see where this picks up.
So,
it seems like she was... The groundwork was tried to get laid earlier.
Yeah, well, her she's a relatively, within the last decade character in the comic books, but she's got a very unique ability, and you'll see a lot of star shapes with her, actually. And so her name is like Miss America in the comic books because of the star shapes, not because she's any relation to Captain America. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that, and we'll not do any research. But this week, I'm excited. I'm going Thursday at 4 p.m. in IMAX. I was telling Mike before the show, there are 35 millimeter copies out in big cities. So LA, Chicago, I'm pretty sure New York's got them. There's only a couple of these. So if you're a film head, a fanatic, you want to watch them in 35 millimeter, do get it, and you get the opportunity, I would go check those out. I did say this on the screen. I found the closest Screen X theater to me, Mike, is in Nashville, Tennessee, which is a 3-hour drive for me.
What is Screen X?
So that's the one that has the panels on the side of the theater that they project onto sideways. So it's like a big wraparound kind of thing.
I forgot about this concept.
Well, that's where last week on the news they showed the back of Professor X's head on Screen X, and it shows his yellow chair behind his head, right, from that scene they showed in the trailers. So I was like, okay, that's fun. Maybe I do want to see. Is this the movie I want to attempt Screen X in? Right, like if I want to try a Screen X, I've got to literally go out of my way to do it. So is this the movie I want to try? You're gonna have to
stretch your eyeballs. You're gonna have to do some a loop-de-loops with your eye to stretch them. You gotta get that peripheral going.
The only theater where I'd want to sit in the back row, right, to see everything. So I would be interested to try that out. But again, it's a 3-hour drive to Nashville for me. So. Will it happen? I don't know. We will see. Yeah, Doctor Strange this week. Also, move along on the news here. You sent this to me, but I already knew about it because I had it in the show notes. John Watts is taking a break from superhero films after the success of 3 Spider-Man movies, and so he will be stepping away from Fantastic Four. This breaks our heart a little bit because we were so excited because of the success of Spider-Man movies.
Yeah,
but I understand.
Yeah, the strange thing is, weirdly enough, nobody ever talked about John Watts for making these incredibly successul Spider-Man movies. Some of my favorite in the MCU, not a household name like, Taika Waititi is, or some of these other directors like the Russo brothers, is the fact that the Russo brothers are just brothers makes him more ingrained in the memory, right? Like, there's 2 people behind it. They're brothers. There's more of a story there. There's more to remember. So it's just strange, right? Nobody knows who John Watts is. I don't know if that's good or bad, if he likes it that way. I think he has something in development at Apple Plus.
Yeah,
so
it's got Brad Pitt and somebody else involved. He's got a regular movie.
So he's the type of director now that has 1,000 things in productions, right? I'm sure if we went to his IMDb page and looked at upcoming, the list is longer than the stuff he's worked on in the past, right? But I mean, I would say close out. This could be a good sign. I'm trying to look on the rosy side of things, right, Chris? Because we were looking forward to him doing Fantastic Four. This could be good because a director, they're all artists, right? Barring maybe somebody that directs a Resident Evil movie on occasion.
Michael Bay.
But yeah, he's an artist. He wants to flex his muscles a little bit. He did his work right. He climbed the ladder. Now he's at the top and he wants to direct whatever he wants to direct. So I mean, you would kind of already see this happening with some other stuff, right? Like Phil Lord and Chris Miller, they're kind of doing not vanity projects, but they're doing their own stories, like over at Apple Plus as well.
Well, Russo brothers did. Was it Cherry? And then they've got the Gray Man coming out. You know, they peaked out with Endgame and Infinity War, and they're like, let's do our own stuff for a minute.
Yeah. So it seems like it's amicable, right?
Yeah.
With John Watts, so maybe we'll see him back at some other point in time. But I guess we should just be happy that he gave us 3 great Spider-Man movies, and we'll just look at it that way.
Well, and also, you know, I would much rather have, if he's coming into Fantastic Four fatigued or run down, we're not going to get a good movie, right? Like, you know, I'm glad he's able to, like, look, this is an opportunity to potentially be successful, to make a lot of money, to do what I wanted to do or whatever. But he's like, you know, my health, my, you know, creativeness comes first, and to pull that out, because some people are just yes men and they'll say, yep, let's do it. And you'll get a really, really bad movie, right? Like, you know, after 6 Resident Evil movies, I'm sure you're like, God damn, like whoever's making this isn't even trying anymore.
It is funny, though, this news is on the heels of Doctor Strange, which is probably the most recent Marvel movie, right, to have a directorial swap. I don't even remember who the original director was.
Scott Derrickson.
Yeah, that's right.
Who directed the first one, which I need to rewatch this week, by the way. If anyone else is rewatching, let me know. But.
Yeah, so maybe maybe once Doctor Strange comes out, hopefully it's good. Hopefully we love it, and we'll be like, okay, not a big deal when Marvel needs to swap directors. And this wouldn't even be last minute. Like, I would say this is probably the appropriate time to announce stepping back, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And like, they're not in the middle of production. They're not, oh my gosh, you know, it's releasing, you know, within 6 months or kind of thing. They're very early on. I think the other, it made me actually think of when the bigger news was right whenever Edgar Wright left Ant-Man, and they gave it to Peyton Reed, who's done 2 movies and he's doing the 3rd one. So, you know, I don't think he's going to get it, but like, there's opportunities to shift, you know, directors and early on and work through that. Now, I mean, the other thing is the rumor as of today, like, they have gone back to John Krasinski, who was in talk to play Mr. Fantastic, to actually direct the film instead. You know, since he's not doing any more, at least right now, was it the Quiet Place movies? So
I thought there was a 3rd one in development, but I don't know if he's attached to direct.
No, he's not. So the 3rd one was, they talked about Cinemacon. It's a prequel. It's like Day One, A Quiet Place Day One, which is like, they kind of touched on a little bit in 2, right? Like but he's not directing it. Somebody else is. He's just producing it. And I believe the 3rd one down the road, I don't think he's directing either. I think he's moved into a producing role on the franchise. But John Krasinski, I think he'd do a great job directing it. As much as people want to see him play Mr. Fantastic, I still think as a director he'd be fine, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, if you look outside of his famous, iconic roles as an actor, right, in The Office, and some could say maybe even his, I don't remember who he was in that Amazon series.
Jack Ryan?
Book character. Jack Ryan, that's right. I don't know if that's necessarily iconic enough for him. But this is very classic for Marvel, right? Hire a horror movie director. That's basically what he is, right? So this makes a lot of sense. And I've said it before a million times on the podcast. I don't want to see him as Mr. Fantastic because I don't want the internet to get what it wants all the time.
Right.
I think that the internet sometimes is like a child, and they don't always get to go hang out with their friends, or they don't always get the candy bar that they want, or the ice cream.
9.5 out of 10 times, maybe even 9.9. If the internet is campaigning for an actor, it's not going to happen though. So
yeah, I mean, it worked out well with Benedict Cumberbatch, but I felt like the fervor behind that was like not as intense. Like, it wasn't just like, we know better than you, cast this person. It was just like, hey, Benedict Cumberbatch, here I photoshopped him as Doctor Strange. Doesn't it look cool? It's like, yes, that does look cool. When I look at John Krasinski, I don't feel Mr. Fantastic. I'm not saying he couldn't embody the character, but I'm just like, stop trying to make this happen. Just go rewatch The Office.
Well, the other thing is, Benedict Cumberbatch was actually 2nd or 3rd choice, I think. They actually almost cast Joaquin Phoenix first, and that's why they went to the internet casting for the second one, because Joaquin Phoenix was actually in talks to do it, and he backed out at the last minute with that. So could you imagine having him as imagine if we had Joaquin Phoenix as Doctor Strange and Benedict Cumberbatch as the Joker? Like, can you just imagine that universe where they swap places?
That's a multiverse that I'd like to go check out.
That is a multiverse of madness for sure. So, yeah, no bad blood here. I think for John Watts and Marvel, I think it's just, typical. Like, after Spider-Man and probably dealing with Sony, he's like, I could take a break from this. So, but No Way Home, great end cap for a trilogy of films. Loki, the TV series, is season 2 is filming in a matter of weeks, according to Tom Hiddleston. So that's exciting. I feel like, didn't that just end almost a year ago? But I was thinking this Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think this started in May or June of last year. So very excited to return to the universe of Loki. And actually I'm missing 2 bullet points here. I feel like someone deleted my notes along the way, because I wrote a couple things in here that didn't make it. But I believe this is going to tie into something a little larger, if you will here. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania was moved up quite a bit, several months, to next year. If you go to the superheroslate.com releases, you will see Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is now February 17th of 2023. So we are now less than a year away from this. For that.
Yeah, I feel like, with the production, it depends, right? Because Marvel's creating these streaming shows at very high quality, right? But they're only making so many episodes, and they kind of got a machine going at this point in time. It does make you wonder what happens first, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania or Loki season 2. Mm-hmm.
So I believe the post-production on these is seeming to take a long time on the TV shows, more so than the movies, it feels like over there. So I don't know if it's and Loki's a huge effects heavy show, right? They're going through multiverses, magic, all this other fun stuff. I can see it not coming out for another year, working on this and then coming out next summer. So next April, next May, even June. But with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania moving up, that also it replaced the Marvels. The Marvels was moved back, which I actually didn't think that was going to be the case, because Miss Marvel is already debuting in a month, right? I thought they would move those closer together, but they've swapped them. And the theory is for this is that the Marvels is still at a place where it needs a little more work in production, and Ant-Man and the Wasp has gone quite smoothly for it. So I don't think it would be story related, but I don't see how Loki would beat Ant-Man and the Wasp, because I also know Echo is shooting, right? We talked about that a couple weeks ago. So if we assume production is tied to release date, we still got the rest of this year to kind of go through, and She-Hulk, possibly What If season 2, Secret Invasion's already been filming, Echo's filming, Loki. We might be more than a year out for Loki season 2.
That's just the big question mark of things we don't know. We don't know what this new phase of Marvel is laddering up to, right? We don't know. There's no Thanos out there looming out in the galaxy that we're building up to. So we know a lot of information, right? Mm-hmm. We actually do know a lot of things that's coming, but we don't know if it's culminating into anything. Right. So you can't really pin down the order of anything at the moment.
I think that the biggest thing here is we know that actor Jonathan Majors is tied to both Loki and Quantumania. So I would think, he might be the through line through this, for at least these 2 properties, 2 seasons and a movie. Do I think he's the big bad for the MCU? I don't know. I really don't know. And I don't think we will know for a little bit either, right? There's, they're kind of focusing a little bit on more personal, smaller stories along the way lately. Especially with the TV shows, right? They're not other than What If, and I don't really count that. WandaVision was a personal, tragic story. Captain America was personal. Hawkeye was very small. Moon Knight is proving to be very, very, personal and individualized. So, is there a big plan for these, or are we still waiting for a tipping point in another year or two when something else kind of triggers this? Because Eternals was, despite people not watching it and not liking it, that did set up some huge concepts, right? Celestials and other godly beings. So I don't know where we're
Yeah, if you're trying to think of the largest stakes out there, it seems like the Eternals have set it up. But
yeah, and the multiverse possibly, but we're moving through the multiverse at such a quick, brisk pace. Will Doctor Strange actually wrap it up at the end of it? Like,
yeah, we've never had to see Marvel kind of pivot from a critically not approved movie, right? Mm-hmm. So like, how do they pivot from, were they setting something up with the Eternals? Were they not? They still have plenty of ground to move now because they've only had one film in there, but we don't really know where we're going, but sometimes that's exciting.
Exactly. I think if we knew, we would build our own stories and be disappointed when they didn't meet those stories, right? Like, oh, I was thinking they would go here. I wish they would have gone here. But now that we just don't know, we're sitting back and enjoying the ride for the first time. I did see another article where it said Kevin Feige was going to like a Marvel retreat where they're going to plan out the next 10 years of the MCU. We always like to think that they've already got that planned out, but lately, producers have been saying like, actually, there's no big dry erase board. Like, we literally just listen to the feedback and respond to it.
Yeah, I like to think that they're just like around like a campfire in the woods, like making s'mores. Like, man, what do we think Ant-Man should do next? And then we're just in the trees, right? We're on like those deer stands that hunters use, like with like these like those binoculars,
night vision goggles.
Like, like what are they saying? I can't read lips.
Yeah, or like there's like 2 or 3 of them on a boat out in the middle of the lake just fishing, and they come up with the idea like right then and there. They're like,
and we're the characters underneath the water that's like breathing through those reeds. When you use the reeds as like a snorkel.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I want to see what they come back with. Hopefully they make some announcements this year. But like, I do understand from a point of view with the pandemic around the world for the past 2 years, they have really not had a lot of opportunity to. I probably plan, or any plans they had have been shifted or outright canceled. Right? Like, they've had to adjust to that, and I think in some situations, quality and continuity has suffered as much as we wish we had it along the way. So hopefully we get more of this. But yeah, again, all those release dates when they're announced, you can check them out on superheroslate.com, click upcoming releases. Everything with the new release date has been highlighted in red. And we'll talk about a couple more of those here in a minute. But first, sad news for fans of the CW. Legends of Tomorrow was officially canceled at the CW this weekend. So I think it had 7 seasons, maybe 8, and it ended on a cliffhanger. So, do you think they'll like try to do like some sort of event to like wrap this up? Like, we'll do a Flash and Superman event and try to wrap it up real fast together. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. That's the thing. They could always, I guess they could wrap up the characters on a different show. I think Superman and Lois and the Flash, are those the only really things still alive?
Yep, and then they've not talked about Gotham Knights yet, but I don't think that's going to have the effect that these other shows kind of had over time. But yeah, those are the only 2 left that I know of, because the other one, Batwoman, you're like, oh, what about Batwoman was canceled as well. We didn't get to that bullet point, but Batwoman was officially canceled at the CW, so they are down to like 2 mainline superhero shows. I'm not going to count Naomi. I think that's a whole different universe, or like different beast that doesn't live in this shared universe. But I can't think of anything left, right? Black Lightning,
it seems like the appetite for superhero content on television has become a little bit more sophisticated in a way. I'm not saying those shows were never good, but like the budgets have increased, the episode orders have shrunk, and they're supporting and propping up gigantic streaming services now. Right. So I would imagine the CW pivots holistically as a whole, right? I think their audience base is, in my head, I always imagine like 16-year-olds like prop up the CW network. So they'll probably make more stuff for them, like Riverdale stuff or Nancy Drew style things, Sabrina adjacent stuff. But it seems like the superhero era might be coming to an end over there.
Well, I also think we've talked about the new Warner Discovery merger. Someone's at the head of it. They're trying to figure out a plan, right? And I guess the first thing to do with figuring out a plan is canceling things that are costing money and figuring out what to do with those. Because I assume these shows are having diminishing returns, right? Superman and Lois I hear is really great, nothing against it, but Flash after 8 seasons, going on 9 confirmed, but probably for a shorter episode count, they're probably not seeing the viewership they used to. I'm not watching the show anymore. Mike, are you watching the show anymore?
No, and whenever I'm curious, I just go on YouTube and I look for like a season recap to be like, oh, okay, That's what they did this season. Weird.
Yeah. And then the CW also, as a whole, is owned half by CBS and half by Warner Brothers. So, it doesn't exist on Paramount because I believe Paramount, Viacom owns CBS, and Warner is now owned by Discovery. So where does the CW as a whole channel live, right? Like, what is its goal? What are they trying to do over there? I don't know. Maybe it'll find itself with new style of TV shows, a whole different audience in and of itself. Because I don't know if you remember the WB channel when you were younger, and UPN. Those merged to create the CW. So, is it time for the CW to find something else, or just pivot away, or go the way of streaming? I don't know, but there are a lot of questions here about everything, and I think the first thing they're going to do is start again winding down these superhero shows so they can play with those characters in other areas along the way. Is Pennyworth still going on? Is that
on
still a
Epix?
thing?
I don't think so.
Well, it moved to HBO proper here. Original to present. Season 3 will be going to HBO Max.
What? That is wild.
Yeah. Great. Good for it. But I don't think. Yeah. HBO Max seems to be the home for all the shows anyway. So at the end of the day. All right. Let's jump into Sony at Cinemacon. This is going to be a little bit of a mix match here of things going on here. First, they did show off some Kraven footage over there. Nothing big, but there was a sizzle reel, and you can see Aaron Taylor Johnson as Kraven. He appears to be slick back hair and a white button-up shirt with a big necklace. So it sounds like it's just his regular form, right? Don't know what to think of this yet. We'll get more. But the other big thing is, to no surprise, Venom 3 was officially announced.
What? I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah, no release date yet, and no other details. That it's going to happen.
Sony had its chance. They had Jared Leto. They had Morbius. They had a movie to convince me that all of this is a one master plan. It's not. It was a bad movie.
But he said Venom and Morbius. He said it. It's all connected. Maybe it's a badly connected, but it is connected nonetheless. So yes, Venom 2 or Venom 3 on its way. We'll see if anything comes out of this. My next guess is a writer and a director needs chosen. I don't think Andy Serkis will come back, but if they can lean into some goofy stuff for Venom finally, actually using him to fight other things other than just other colored versions of himself, I'll be happy. Let's see what that looks like. Give us that along the way. But in good news, Across the Spider-Verse, which is the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse, it's gonna be hard to remember all these. They showed off 15 minutes at CinemaCon. And apparently, and this has been taken out of context, apparently there are 240 characters and 6 universes with the largest animation team in history on any animated project ever over there.
Do it.
240 characters is not 240 Spider-Man characters, but that's 240 characters across the movie.
And there's going to be 40 Spider-Men and then 200 Aunt Mays.
Yes.
They're just going to have all different variations of hair.
Do you call that like an ant hive at that point? Because of all those?
Ant hive, yes.
Probably, I guess, there's villains, side characters, things along the way. They did mention specifically that Oscar Isaac's Spider-Man 2099, Spider-Gwen, and Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman were shown off in this 15 minutes of footage.
Oh,
so
cool. That's awesome.
We already knew they were coming, but that's great. They're working on it. So that is... you weren't here last week, but that was delayed, right, to next year. That was moved to June 23rd of next year. So we're still over a year away from this. That's fine. We love the first one, right? I will take time to get a quantity film when this comes out. Or quality film.
Well, I mean, there's quantity there, too. Lots of characters.
Exactly.
The quantity pushed back the timeline so they could make quality.
And this is great because Netflix, in its stupidity, is canceling all of its animation products because
that's
they lost all their
very
stuff.
Dramatic.
Which I think, you should make content for everybody. But they are canceling their animation contracts and projects. So this is stupid. So hopefully Sony hires up some of those animation people and puts them to work on this film, because there's going to be different art, 6 universes. That's an art style for every universe, right? At least so. Let's get a look at that. I want to see what that looks like. And then the last bit of news here tied to this, Across the Spider-Verse Part 2 is no longer Part 2. It is now Beyond the Spider-Verse, which I believe is one of the names we pitched years ago when we went through every preposition known to man to figure out what this would be called.
That's good. So it's into, across, and then beyond.
Yes.
At least that makes sense, logically. People always bring up what the Planet of the Apes movies, and there's other franchises like the Resident Evil franchise or the Underworld franchise where you just cannot keep track of the title of the sequel.
Transformers, the same way. It's all where they started using subtitles, but it's going to be hard to remember these, but they're working on this third movie, which is this, at the same time. So they've got this animation team. It will come out March 29th, 2024. So less than a year between films. We don't know much about it. There are rumors, theories. These are more theories than rumors that they are trying to push Miles into live action at the end of this movie. And that's why they're going beyond the Spider-Verse and where the film would end up with a live action Miles at the end of this.
I mean, Shameik Moore, he's the voice actor for Miles, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, he could play. I've never actually thought about it before. Shameik Moore doing live action Miles.
Yeah.
Actually, really, when you think about it, though, you only ever going to see Shameik outside of costume, right? Because as we know from Tom Holland, the second they put that mask on, it's like a CG character the entire time. So really, is Tom Holland also an animated Spider-Man at heart? I think so.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it could be something where they break through. I mean, even if it's not Shameik Moore, he is currently 26. He'll be 28 by the time this comes out. Will he be able to play a high schooler, or will have time have passed in the movies for him to be that age? So I don't know. There's a lot of opportunity here with Sony to do the right thing. If we trust them. However, sometimes I don't trust them. Because that brings us to our next point. I can't believe we have to explain this to people. That El Muerte is a Spider-Man spin-off film coming out, starring performance artist Bad Bunny.
You sent this to me about a week ago, and I looked at the headline, and it was one of those things where I know some of these words.
Yes.
I know some of this. What is this?
So El Muerte is a Latino superpowered wrestler who fought Spider-Man in the comic books. Okay. Bad Bunny is known for his Latin American, I believe, pop/rap music. That's what he's known for. So this character, El Muerte, his abilities and mask are passed through generations. He fought Spider-Man and he wrestled Spider-Man and then became friends as he was out fighting to end, evil, bad guys, whatever. So of all the Spider-Man properties, this is the most, tangential that I've ever heard in my life.
It's wild because actually the character, the way you described it, actually sounds kind of cool, like a mask being passed down. That seems very comic book lore, and I'm down for it. I've never really seen wrestling and superheroes cross over on the big screen myself. But you don't introduce a character like this on its own. It didn't even work with Morbius, and at least people kind of knew who Morbius was. You have to introduce these characters within the bigger movies, right? You need a Spider-Man movie where the character shows up in the Spider-Man movie and we fall in love with them in that context of Spider-Man. Then you do the spinoff. No one's gonna know what the hell this is. I really feel like this is gonna get canned before it ever makes it to the screen.
Yeah, I do have the date here. I didn't put it in here. It's January 12th. 2024. So if they're going to can
January, what an amazing month to release a movie.
Yeah, I was going to say, do I have that in here? Nope, no one has claimed that spot in our list. I didn't put it in here. But the character, incidentally, it looks like a cross between Bane and the clown from Spawn. And I'm trying to get this image to your texting here because I've been to kind of say that, but I was I don't know, is this the right guy? But if you look at him, he's got a skull on the top of his mask, and it's kind of a white skull, or I guess horned skull over it. So he looks like the Punisher and Bane and the clown from Spawn all at once here.
Yeah, there's a part of me that just thinks this is what studios do to gauge interest out there in the world, right? There's no focus group, there's no set of analytics besides comic book sales where a studio can go oh, is this character viable for a movie? So they're oh, we're going to a convention, let's just announce the character and let's see how the internet reacts. And I honestly think that's what's happening here.
The other thing,
they're just testing the temperature of the water before they jump in.
Well, the other thing is Bad Bunny requests, like, this is his project that he requests to do because apparently he's like he's very popular in test screenings for that Bullet Train movie coming out. I didn't know he was even in Bullet Train, right? So like he requested it, and the studio's like, sure, we need characters that aren't Spider-Man, but like. Is this even like? Do you have to make this Spider-Man adjacent, or could you just make this his own movie? Right? Like, I guess that's the question. Like, sure, he wrestled Spider-Man, but are you actually going to put Spider-Man in this movie, or are you just going to make it a wrestler?
They're not gonna put Spider-Man in this movie.
Yeah. So it's just weird. It's just a really weird thing. Like, why announce it and relate it to Spider-Man, even though he will definitely not be in this movie? It's like Morbius, right? Or Venom. Well, Venom finally. Well, he didn't really get. He looked at TV with Spider-Man on it.
This feels like if Sony had its own streaming service, and I know Crackle technically is theirs. Like, this feels like this would be like a streaming service show, right? You know, like, imagine if like Marvel announced Echo was going to be a movie. I'd be like, okay, that seems a little odd. But at least, at the very least, they introduced Echo within a Hawkeye TV show, right? You got to prime the audience. You got to get them excited for something.
No,
you can't just
Sony
bring
doesn't
it in
do
out
that.
of nowhere.
Sony has no idea what foreplay is in the superhero world. They're just like, you know what? Here it is. You're gonna like it. Whether you like it or not, we're gonna do it because to hell with you. So
it's a shame though, because it sounds cool. But it's just, this isn't going to work.
I guess the thing is, for me, is this a play? Is the pitch like, hey, we're going to make this movie and sell it in Mexico and Latin American audiences? Like, is that where he's like, I want to go to my audience who listens to my music and make this movie for them?
Yeah.
And Sony's like, you know what? We'll do worldwide. Like, that's what we'll do here.
Or if you're being cynical about it, Sony's like, I want some of that Black Panther money. Let's make her. Or I hope that's not what they're thinking.
Oh yeah. No, wrestling's huge right now. Everyone's watching WWE, right?
It's crazy. I'm excited that you brought that up because like I am on Twitter like way too much, and like every Sunday night wrestling's on. It's always trending, and I'm not even saying like trending locally or like algorithmically trending to like preferences. Like, no, like the top 10 trending of Twitter is like always wrestling every time that it's on. There is this untapped wrestling market out there. So maybe there's a really smart Sony executive that's like, we need to tap into this market. What IP do we own that's related to wrestling? We have this Spider-Man character that wrestles. They greenlight it.
Yeah, well,
so who knows?
It's funny because literally where I go through, like, one of the sites where I go through my news is every day. There's a guaranteed one very clickbaity Wordle article, like today's Wordle's breaking streaks, or today's Wordle's making streaks longer, and then it's like 5 things of wrestling about wrestlers. I'm like, what the hell? How do they do this? How do they find articles every day to talk about wrestlers? I will never know. But it exists up here with literally, if I go to the menu, DC, Marvel, Walking Dead, Star Wars, Star Trek, anime, horror, Power Rangers, WWE. Like, I'm like, how does it get its own heading? It must be very, very popular. So if you like wrestling, great. Not a knock against it. It's just not in our wheelhouse right now. So
if you're a fan of the El Muerte in the comic books, I hope this doesn't get you down.
Yeah,
I hope they do a good job adapting your boy.
Oh, and if you listen to Bad Bunny religiously, go you. Hopefully he's really good in Bullet Train, and you can get a movie out of this.
The odds are not in your favor, though.
I do want to see Bullet Train, though. I will say.
Oh yeah,
I do want to see that movie, but not because I knew Bad Bunny was in it. Anyway, moving along. Ghostbusters is also something. A sequel to Afterlife has been announced at CinemaCon. This movie's been out for a while. It was delayed for a while. It sounds like Sony has seen some reinvigoration in cinemas, or at least their properties, right? They're going all in on Spider-Man. Ghostbusters is getting a 4th movie. Did you ever watch Afterlife, Mike?
I haven't watched it yet. No, okay. I haven't quite been compelled enough, but I would watch it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I've written it off, but I'm surprised that they were making another one.
Well, again, I think Afterlife is great. Done by Ivan Reitman, son of Jason Reitman. The movie very much has a history to follow up on, right? No one, the negativity from the 2015 one, and then just the history of Ghostbusters from the 80s. Like, there's we have a fan on the show, a listener on the show, Adam Nemec. He's a huge Ghostbusters fan. he just loves it. That's his franchise, right? So I'm very excited for him, and I do say Afterlife, I enjoyed it. Again, we're not precious on Ghostbusters properties, right? We've mentioned that several times, but very much enjoyed Afterlife as a sequel. So I hope you get to watch it and let me know what you think. On top of that, just a reminder that there is a 4v1 game coming to consoles called Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. So in this one, you play as 4 Ghostbusters versus one person who's playing as the ghost, who's going around. I think their goal is to isolate the ghost and trap him before the ghost can scare or haunt the facility or building you're in too much, and the people end up leaving and saying the Ghostbusters didn't do their job at the end of the day.
I mean, that gameplay mode is getting pretty popular, right? I don't remember the name of it, but there's a horror game where it's a similar concept where
Dead
one
by
person
Daylight?
gets... Maybe, I don't know. The title sounds familiar. It
Killing
could be.
Floor, maybe one of the two.
Something like that, where you either can be an original scary creature, or sometimes they license like IP where you can be like Jason or something like that. And you're trying to catch.
Dead by Daylight. I think.
Yeah, you're trying to catch all the teenagers. There's a game that I keep seeing clips of on TikTok. And I think I don't know if it's a Call of Duty mod or if it's like an official online thing where like you get access to the library of video game props and you can disguise yourself as a chair.
Yep.
What is that? Every time I see clips of it, it always looks hilarious because you're trying to like strategically place yourself as a chair in like the corner, and then everybody else's job is to shoot everything, like shoot every object to try to get the person that's hiding.
So I don't know what game this originated in, but I've seen it in Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, Fortnite. It's called Prop Hunt, where literally the whole point of it is you're on a map that a Call of Duty map or whatever map that you know of, and then the enemies have essentially been chosen as a random prop, or they can like cycle through props, and they try to just become an item in the environment. And as in Prop Hunt, your goal as the prop is to live, but like you're hunting them. It's
hilarious.
Yeah.
Because at least the videos I saw, it's not like you're cloaking yourself and you are a human. You are perpetually an object.
Yep. You're a chair or a vase or something weird.
So if you get caught and you're trying to run away, it's like a chair is running away from you. It's so funny. So yeah, I could see Ghostbusters pulling something off like that.
Yeah, Prop Hunt. And I think as a ghost, you could actually take, like, you can possess things in there, not people, but like the items and the slime. So cooperative. I've also heard from one gameplay that the AI, when you're like one of the Ghostbusters and you don't have a full team of 4, are actually smart enough to know what they're doing, like rather than just being dumb and figuring out. So that's good to know. And lastly, I believe this was announced at the Oculus developers event earlier this month, but there's Ghostbusters VR coming to Oculus. And that sounds pretty awesome to have a proton pack and me hunting ghosts in first person, right? Because a lot of scary games make that transition really well to VR, and this could be scary and fun at the same time along the way. So Ghostbusters is making a resurgence, Mike. I think Afterlife literally revitalized the franchise as a whole. I know last year they put all the animated back on YouTube, right? Like you can watch the original Ghostbusters on YouTube. The cartoons every Saturday morning. I think they released a new one, so they're all on there. This is great for fans of Ghostbusters, so good for them. Moving along, Hot Wheels the movie is back on the menu for live action production. I didn't even know this was an option to make live action, but apparently Bad Robot, which is what's his name, J.J. Abrams' company, is producing the film based on the toy line of the same name, Hot Wheels.
What is the point?
I don't know.
At least when they tried to make a movie out of Battleship, at least it's like 2 ships facing off against you. You can kind of imagine at least a scenario that you can at least film a scene around. Hot Wheels, it's just a brand name for a car. Like
it's even like little car. Like you have a Hot Wheels track. Like it knows that you're playing with miniatures like the whole way. They had a Hot Wheels video game recently even come out for it.
So it's just like, I mean, are we imagining a franchise that's so popular in like 5 years we get a spinoff called Micro Machines or something?
Well, is it Honey, I Shrunk the Cars? Like, is it going to be like, are they literally using little cars, or is this like a Need for Speed thing where we're like, oh, we're just racing cars around,
Yeah, I don't know. This is wild. At least I feel like a couple screenwriters got a payday out of this, right? The studio hired, like, okay, you write a version of Hot Wheels, whatever you think it is. You write one. we'll see if anything comes of it.
Yeah, mix and match. Now, Hot Wheels, I believe, is owned by Mattel, and Mattel licensed also Barbie, I believe, recently, which had a screenshot come out recently. They also apparently no, hold on. They also I'm trying to figure out who Mattel owns, because Barbie, Hot Wheels, and Fisher Price that I know of.
I don't know. I just don't know what is the end road for Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
Hot Wheels, like, you did bring up a good point. The only other identifiable factor of a Hot Wheels is that it's small. Like, it's a toy. And I didn't really think of the orange tracks.
The orange tracks, exactly. Like these crazy tracks you build yourself, but like
maybe it's like a near future world where like car racing on a circle is boring now. So some rich tycoon builds like these tracks in the sky. Like maybe that's the only thing
cool.
that I could
That's too
think.
cool, Mike. Pump your brakes here. It's going to be something like, hey, guess what? Where you put on a VR headset and you drive a little bitty car around a track. You don't even race in Hot Wheels. That's the thing. You literally just throw your car on the thing and watch it spin around your track as it hits like the speed things, right? Like there's no racing.
I'm seeing it on the wall. This movie is going to be half funded by by Saudi Arabia. It's going to take place in Dubai.
The other half is
tracks
Tencent.
floating in the sky.
Yeah. So they also own Barbie, Hot Wheels, Matchbox, which is other small cars, Fisher Price, American Girl, Polly Pocket, Uno. We need the Uno movie. That's what I was thinking of.
Reverse.
Yes, and they also own Masters of the Universe, so all the He-Man stuff is Mattel owned and operated. So we'll see about that. But this just makes no sense. This is one of those things where you're just like, why? Why do this? Anyway, Super Mario movie was delayed until April of next year. Just for production, no other reason. I was reading some people maybe like had seen a screener of this, and it was nothing bad, but I read a little bit about this. It's very much animated in like a not a Shrek style, but a modern animation style. This is not a 2D animated movie, so it might just be taking a little longer to hash that out. Any thought? I want to hear. I want to see what it looks like. I want to see some like a still frame, and I would like to hear the voices, please.
Yeah, I'm curious if they're going to do any sort of unique animation style. The latest DreamWorks movies that just came out, The Bad Guys, is kind of like this cool hybrid of like 2D and 3D. The new League of Legends TV show on Netflix. Man, I already forgot. Arcane? That's
Arcane.
No,
yeah.
Is that the name of it? Arcane?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't watched it in a bit. But that has also like an interesting style to it as well. Did you watch that new Puss in Boots trailer that came out a few weeks ago?
I have not.
I'm not really precious to that character.
Yes, I did, because it's got like a weird frame rate to it.
It's got a unique
frame rate. Yeah.
Yeah, so that seems to be the thing. Like moving forward, if you're going to make an animated movie, do something a little unique and different with it. And this is from Illumination, who's known for doing the Despicable Me movies, and this is going to be their first like time. It seems like adapting something that's not theirs. So yeah, I'm curious if they'll do anything unique with the look.
It'll probably be similar to the Minions and Gru style, like just because Mario's got its own style. Like I don't want them to actually change how Mario and the worlds look, if I'm going to be honest. From like the cutscenes in like the newer games, they look pretty good. They've really nailed that. So I don't want them to change it too much, but you do need a gimmick, right? Like what is the gimmicky look and feel to this, like the unique standout feature. So we can thank Spider-Verse for that because of its how they did it. Moving on, Mission Impossible. I believe this is 7 already. If you believe that or not. If you're looking for a franchise that you might not hate, Mike, diving into with 7 movies, 8 movies. The 7th film is called Dead Reckoning. It's a pretty good title. I think if you're gonna look at how you're gonna name your films, they have Fallout. What was the last one? Do you remember any of the titles?
Oh God, I don't remember any of the titles. I did read a Variety article recently that was all about kind of Tom Cruise's like stranglehold / creative control over the Mission Impossible franchise. Like the buck stops with Tom Cruise. Like he keeps like wringing money out of Paramount to make more and more elaborate like set pieces and movies, and they keep increasing the budget, and they won't finalize any of the scripts for their movies because if they do, that means the studio can kind of finally put a budget down. So I think the moral of the story here is what we see on screen when it becomes Mission Impossible, whenever these movies release, is exactly what Tom Cruise wanted, because he is the last kind of big movie star left out there on the planet. So I am very curious how this movie is going to go. And Paramount needs it to go really well. And Paramount has not had a whole lot of luck in the last couple of years, you know.
And they've filmed 2 of these back to back, right? There's 7 and 8. So Dead Reckoning is 7, and they said Dead Reckoning Part 2, but it'll get its own name. And these were also, I believe, here looking at how many of these were they all written and directed by? No. Christopher McQuarrie has done a lot of these, right? So I don't know.
He's kind of done I feel like the back half of the franchise. So him and Tom are like this team, and Tom will straight up sue Paramount at any whiff that these movies will come out on streaming before that he gets the whole window. And I don't even think he wants the full window. He doesn't want the 45-day window. So Tom is very much still kind of like in this kind of classic blockbuster action mindset. So love it or hate it, if we've liked the other Mission Impossible movies, it seems like we're going to be getting more of that.
Well,
which
eight is the last one. The next one's the last one. So they're completely done with these at 8. And I think it's because Tom Cruise is either going to kill himself filming it from doing his own stunts, or he's just done with them. Either one of the ways. So.
Content-wise, I think the only thing that was revealed in the article was that there's like a submarine set piece that they want to add to it, but you know, I feel like that's in every action movie.
And
now.
that could be
submarine somewhere.
And that could be the 8th one, I think, as well, because they were going to film them back to back, but they didn't because of everything. But looking at Christopher McQuarrie, he actually wrote some of my favorite movies. The Usual Suspects. I don't remember that. He did the original Jack Reacher and directed it. Edge of Tomorrow he wrote, that Tom Cruise movie with Emily Blunt, which I think is getting a sequel, right? They're supposed to be working on that. And then he's done literally the last 2 Mission Impossibles, and he wrote Top Gun Maverick as well, which I heard that this trailer for Mission Impossible is tied to the Top Gun release, and that people are absolutely loving the Top Gun movie from the early screenings.
All right.
Now, we saw this literally, it was ready to release when we went to Comic-Con in 2019, so they've been sitting on it for quite a while right now, right? Like, I don't have any love for the first one. I get it. I know, the bullet points. Is this something, when this comes out in July? No, when is this coming out? It says April or May 27th. I mean, is this something you're going to go see? I mean,
I don't think I'm going to be seeing Top Gun in theaters, but Mission Impossible is a higher probability.
Yeah. I saw the 2 of them ago, not the last one, 2 of them ago, at a drive-in theater, and that was a really good time, right? Like watching an old action, like watching an action film at a drive-in theater. So I'm excited to see these. Peggy Atwell's also in these, right? Who plays Captain Carter. Peggy Carter, she's Captain Carter in What If, when she voiced it. So very excited for Mission Impossible. I think this is one of those 8 movie franchises where like I actually kind of want to watch them because they've gotten better over time. Like unlike Expendables 4, which they announced this week as well, which we're not going to talk about here. So anyway, all right, Mike, have you watched Moon Knight episode 5? We have not discussed this at all.
Yes,
I don't know if you watched
I have.
it. Okay,
I'm up to date on Moon Knight.
Okay, perfect. Because there's 1 episode left. Episode 6 is this week. Literally, I will watch it Wednesday and Doctor Strange on Thursday. Do I think they're related? Probably not, but that's fine. I think the release dates work out really well for this. So if you've not seen episode 5 of Moon Knight, go away. Put a bookmark here. Come back and listen to this when you're done watching it. I know some people are waiting to binge this show. That's fine. If you want to binge it, totally get it. You only have to wait 6 weeks. But I feel like this episode got spoiled for me pretty early on Wednesday because of, I work in social media occasionally, and a lot of the articles were popping up with this and photos and references, and that was kind of like, so this week I'm going to try to get in on Moon Knight as quick as possible because I do not trust the final episode of a season to not hold anything back. And most of those actually have post-credit scenes, right? When they do the last episode of these Disney Plus shows for that. So we'll dive into episode 5, picking up directly where last week left off, which we didn't get to talk about either on air, but like he is in a kind of like a purgatory, right? Like a psych ward traveling the underworld to either find out if he's gonna go to the Field of Reeds or to the permanent underworld and turn into sand. And I feel like this episode really harkens back to, I believe, episode 5 of WandaVision, where it's a very emotionally destroying kind of episode overall.
Yeah,
right?
this it's Moon Knight's been up and down for me overall. I thought it started off on a high, then it took a dip, and then when we kind of went into this purgatory realm is when it finally I batted my eyes up and leaned up from the couch and started paying attention again, because we were kind of just in this weird generic mummy movie for a while that I felt like I had seen better interpretations of many
every
other places.
episode felt like a different genre in hindsight, of like those types of films, right? Like there was no consistency through them a little bit.
Yeah. So I feel like once we got into this purgatory area, it's like, all right, we're finally doing something, right? We're doing something unique, something worthy of like a comic book character, piquing my interest, right? Just being creative. So I was happy to finally see like a turn that I wasn't expecting. So it seems like this is all just like an allegory, right, for the origin of Moon Knight. Where did Steven come from? And I was there for the journey, right? And I would say kind of like, I think bringing up WandaVision is great. Yeah, there are a couple spots in WandaVision and here in Moon Knight where we're not really getting the action set pieces that you might expect from a comic book story, but this is all very necessary for us to understand the character of Moon Knight. So as of right now, I'm really loving episode 5. I'm just hoping that they stick the landing, right? Give me something amazing that will make me want to talk about it, at the water cooler after episode 6, because, we obviously all have our own different bubbles and algorithms out there on social media, but I haven't heard anybody talking about Moon Knight at all in the last 5 weeks. It's just me and you, Chris, that occasionally like talk about it here on the show or in text messages. Yeah. I have not seen this trend pop up anywhere in any fashion at all. So, I mean, the buck obviously doesn't stop with me, but I mean, at least when I was like watching Loki or WandaVision or some of these other shows, I would kind of see things pop up. But yeah,
I think the show has two really strong things going for it at this point. I'm actually very excited that this has no direct MCU connection at this moment in time, because we've been able to like, this whole underworld thing, like, the afterlife, they were like, the afterlife is dependent on what you believe in and what, where you are when you die, right? Like, so like we're not saying like everybody is going to this Egyptian boat when they die kind of thing to figure out what, if they're good or evil. But at the same time, I think this is also, how little Moon Knight have we gotten in the show? How very little have we gotten overall? It's tiny, and I think that's going to be great because I fully feel confident that there will be a season 2 of Moon Knight, or at least he will appear in Blade maybe as a full-on character, possibly, knock on wood. And we don't have to go into the backstory of that character by that point. We can just know who Moon Knight is, what he can do, and kind of along the way. I think that's going to be very interesting for us. Knock on wood, again, that's not a guarantee, but if we do get more of Mark Spector as Moon Knight, I believe it's going to be better because we've gone this journey with the character. And while at the end of the day, this is a horrible backstory, but how they presented the history of Mark and the creation and ultimately destruction of Steven was really like a gut punch overall, right? Because Steven has been the foil to Mark, right? The innocent person, the hey, I'm always looking on the bright side. I'm not, I don't want to fight. I just want to, I'm leaving messages for my, the mother. And then, so when you go back and look at the episodes before this with that new lens on this, it's even more of a like a gut punch. Like, oh my God, like this isn't just, him calling his mom and leaving voicemails. Like, he never called his mom. The Laters Gators was a reference before she hated him as a child, and everything. So it's been, to me, this episode really brought the character as this is a complete character. Mark to me is more of a complete character now than he was when we started. I think 6 episodes is too short to tell this story, sadly. Like, why is this in episode 5 when we know there's obviously going to be a Moon Knight battle in the next episode, right? Like, that's where I agree with your fear of sticking the landing, because we have now got the character, but I don't think one episode's enough to stop and just say, wait.
I feel like besides Oscar Isaac's bizarre choice to do the weird scream for Khonshu during that tribunal in episode 3, overall his performance has been amazing. Like, Oscar Isaac is why I come back and watch this show, because he's doing a great job playing Stephen and Mark, and it seems like there's a third personality out there in the world. We didn't get to talk about episode 4 in length, but we get to kind of see like an unopened like coffin or something that kind of is alluding to another personality in there. And also is the fact that they haven't found this third personality, why the scales haven't fully balanced. Maybe, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I feel like my overall opinion on this show is really, really depending on episode 6. Like, I could easily see myself coming back here next week with a poorly executed episode 6 and going, this show is not for me, unfortunately. But I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping they really nail it. We get some awesome stuff. And weirdly enough, Marvel has trained me for post-credit scenes. And a lot of these other streaming shows have given us like little tidbits, right? You know, at least in episode 5 or like, you know, towards the end, we get like a little bit teasing us for next week. So like, if I don't get a teaser at the end of episode 6, I'm going to riot. Like, I need something teased. Like, they have just trained me.
I think the tease needs to connect it to the bigger universe, right? Like, that is the point that it does. The show's quality does not hinge on it being directly connected to the MCU. But if they're going to say this is a Marvel show and they don't connect it, then you're like, why even do it?
Like, if they put like Kit Haring or Mahershala Ali in the teaser, like that would be what that's something that trends, right? That's something that gets you on social media and gets you the impressions. So we'll
that worked for Eternals, didn't it? Like, the end credits of Eternals is what everyone was talking about. Like, just the voice of Blade. I think there's an opportunity here where they have openly mentioned the Black Panther god several times in this show. So what if it's potentially a Black Panther? What if they got Killmonger back in the spirit world or something, like something stupid? That would be wild out of left field, and they connect this to Black Panther, which is still this year down the road, right? Or is this connected to Thor because Gore is a god butcher and Khonshu's a god? Like, what?
Maybe, but it does seem like in the grand scheme of gods, it seems like Khonshu is on the smaller end, right? Because he's just kind of tied terrestrial to Earth.
Maybe it's not Khonshu. Maybe we see Osiris or like one of the bigger Egyptian gods, right? Like at the head of that thing, someone we don't care about who gets murdered. That way, we don't know who they are or care. But like, it's Christian Bale killing literally Egyptian gods, so like, even Moon Knight's not safe from this kind of thing. But I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's an opportunity to delve into, to connect it to the other movies coming out this year rather than just the TV shows at the end of it, because Black Widow movie connected to Hawkeye. I believe how did Hawkeye end? I forget the post-credit scene for Hawkeye.
Do we? I don't think that's a good sign.
No, it was the play. It was the play. Remember, they did the play.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They showed the whole play, but that connected to the Echo TV show. Kingpin. So it doesn't matter. I think, ultimately 6 episodes is not working in Marvel's favor. I think WandaVision, as good as it is, I don't care for the 6th episode as much, right? Like the reveal of Agatha Harkness literally being the villain who was there the whole time. Why was she there the whole time? She had no idea. Kind of stupid. Some of Falcon and Winter Soldiers was great, but I think I want to go back to the highlight of this episode. Oscar Isaac playing 2 characters who you can tell who are different every time. He's nailing the accents. Like, each character, Mark and Steven, are very different, and he plays them differently. And I saw it was a meme that, best supporting actor in a TV show goes to Oscar Isaac for playing Mark Spector. Best supporting actor goes to Oscar Isaac for playing Stephen Grant, kind of thing. Like, because he's playing both the main and supporting actors in this kind of show. But honestly, I think that I like the hippo god effects were really good, right? I think as a fully fledged anthropomorphic hippo on screen for our first time ever looked pretty fantastic. Just how they use a psychiatric ward as a as a way to go through doors to unlock this. I think this was a really strong episode, but I wish it had been episode 4 instead of 5, and then given us 2 more to solve the episode, right, with Arthur Harrow going forward. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to expect this week. Literally, I actually don't want to watch a teaser for this week's episode because I want to kind of go in as blind as I can, right, and not see anything. But I do. If I would say anything's left for me, what do we need? More Moon Knight action, right? I want to see him actually in the suit fighting a lot of things. So we'll see how this is, and we'll come back next week with that. For that, did you, unrelated, off Moon Knight topic, did you watch that last Halo episode from last week I told you to watch with all the action?
I've only watched the first episode of Halo.
You don't have to watch them all, but I didn't know if you caught that one for the action, because it became like actually like the Halo game at one point. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. But anyway, just curious. Anyway, all right, well, that's the episode, Mike. We have made up for lost time here, believe us. Almost 2 hours. If people know what you're up to, what you're doing this week, where can they find you at?
They can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, or Twitter, Valdan, Valdan. If people know more about the show, come listen to our Doctor Strange review next week. It's right around the corner, and all our other news episodes we do. Where can they find all that good info at?
All you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That is the best place to find the avenues we host our show and to get our awesome show notes and upcoming release calendar. There's lots of movies in flux right now, and Chris is always very diligent at keeping that release calendar updated. Bless him. Bless it be the Chris Dillard of Superhero Slate. So you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can get merch, swag, superheroslate.com/store. If you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we'll be here every week, folks.
That's right. We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.